Oh, just seen that DM come through just as we went live. Anyway, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads. And let me untuck this boner. Yes, there we go. We're talking. Do you know what? Before I go into the introduction, let's let you bring it up to speed. We're talking about. I've just had a notification on my phone, which I must have seen but not realised I've seen, from friend of the channel Paul2707 TV or Paul TV. He's just gone live, and I must have seen that but not seen it. And one of his notifications, I think it's a raid notification. It goes, excuse me while I untuck this boner. I don't know what it's from. I think I've heard it before. Anyway, I said that to Bibi. Anyway, we then moved the conversation on to talking about how Twitter browser now gives you like pop-up notifications in the bottom corner of the screen if you've been DM'd. Anyway, I just asked Bibi to DM me, see if it worked for me. And as we went live, my phone flashed up. What does it say? Let me untuck this boner. So there you go. Good morning. Me, my boner, and Bibi all welcome you to twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads. For those of you who don't know, my name is Graham. This is Bibi. I don't have a boner yet, but maybe we'll see what's in the news first. And we together are Ice Cream Uploads. And in true ice creamy fashion, this is The Scoop, which is your daily dose of news from the world of video games and beyond. And if you've not been here before, what we do is we give you our thoughts and impressions on the biggest and the best and the breaking news stories. And we want your thoughts and impressions on our thoughts and impressions so we can create a little bit of a a chin wag. You are what? I got my own voice back in my head then. I thought you said it to me.
You just completely cut off there, so I thought you wanted me to say it. So I just jumped in with it, and I'm on my toes. You know what I mean? I'm on my toes.
Oh, it's rapid. But it's important that you jump into the conversation like Bibi just did, because we turn this into an on-demand video which we upload to YouTube a little bit later on in the day after we finish this one, and then that video then gets turned into an on-demand podcast that goes on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Google Play. So if you are live on Twitch, please feel free to get involved in the chat, as Enix already has, and as Carlos Powell already has as well. Just woke up, says Jordan. Good timing. Now then, says Carl. Alright. But anyway, yes. Bibarino, how was golf in the moist weather of Manchester yesterday? Or did you actually not get rained on?
It's no, we didn't actually yesterday. It was the perfect weather for it, because usually, like the last couple of weeks I've been playing, and it's been red hot. I don't know why it's just harder to see your ball. I don't know if it's because of the sun's just glaring on everything on the course. So it kind of takes your attention away from where your ball lands. So yesterday, for the first time ever, I didn't lose a ball. It was literally like the perfect weather. It was cold when we started, but then we just got warmed up, so it was fine. I beat my father-in-law for the second time, so it's now 2-2. I beat him on strokes and match play, which again has never happened before, so I was very pleased with myself.
You, sir.
I know, having a really good time. Then I came home, and I don't know if you'd seen on Twitter yesterday, but I had a nice little parcel delivered from Facebook Marketplace with 10 absolute bangers of games, or what I thought was bangers of games. My nostalgia was real. I'm glad that I've got them because they're going to go straight into the collection. However, I played some of them last night, and some of them are a bit rough. A little bit janky.
There we go. I've not seen this, so this is a new experience for me. Let's open this up.
I need Samantha to cut my hair today as well, because it is becoming a bit of a joke.
Facebook Marketplace can be an amazing place to find some absolute bangers, says We've Got by Bin Ho on Twitter. £10 for the lot. Hashtag retro football. Hashtag PS1. Michael Owens World League Soccer 99. Oh,
that's what I was looking for, right? Because I was looking at that about a month ago, and on eBay it was £6 just for the disc itself, which made me think, I'll just go onto Facebook Marketplace to see if I could find it. Typed in the name, and then all of that listing came up for £10.
FIFA World Cup 98. FIFA Road to World Cup. Is that 96? That one there. FIFA 2000. Sol Campbell on the cover. That's the one that's got Robbie Williams doing the soundtrack in it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
FA Premier League Stars. Never played that one.
It's a good game. I think that's the one that's probably held up the best out of the ones that I played last night. Michael Owens World League Soccer was okay too, but I think I need to get a new controller for my PlayStation 2 because a wireless one that I've had it for probably about 3 years now, and I think it wasn't an official wireless controller. It was like a third-party one, so I got 3 years out of it, but it's a bit. It isn't reading it. It isn't reading my button configs properly now. So I was trying to play the PGA golf game there last night, and it looks okay still. But it was back in the days of like Mortal Kombat, you know, where it was real life captures of people doing moves.
Yeah.
But then they just put onto a video game background, like a green screen. It looks so out of whack. Like how we thought that was cool in any way, shape, or form, is beyond me. But when you press X, the little bar goes around your character, and you need to like press X to get 100%, and then press X to get it in the middle. Otherwise, it'll slice or draw it. That was becoming a little bit annoying because the X button wouldn't work properly. So I just kept on slicing it out of bounds. And then I just got my wired controller back out again, but that's not the best either because that was my day one PlayStation 2 controller. So that's that took an absolute beating as well. But yeah, I mean, I had to put underneath the screenshot to say that the games were £10 because I know full well people would have been calling bullshit. Not that I would even bullshit about stuff like that. You know what I mean? I'm a retro collector of video games. Why would I want to bullshit about how much I can pick stuff up for?
Imagine being that pathetic that your fun is to go on the internet and tell people that they say they bought something to just tell them that they haven't.
That's what I mean. But like Blue Boy underneath, he put underneath like I was about to say something like, why would you even need to say this? But then I realized where I was, and I was like, this is why I need to do it.
I thought, why would anyone here think he was bullshitting? Then I remembered where I was. Just imagine that being your fun in life. Do you play video games? No, I don't. I troll the internet telling people that they didn't buy them. Oh, okay, great. Nice, but anyway.
The rose tinted glasses was most certainly on with some of them games. I'm excited to try Gran Turismo out. That's one of the only. You see the game there is Silent Bomber. I've never played that one before.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
I don't understand why that wasn't in the case because the case is there. It was just out of the case. It might have just fallen out in the packaging. But Gran Turismo is the only one that I haven't got a case for.
Where is the case?
It's weird because they put the wrong sleeve in one of the things. So it's I can't remember which one it is that it fits into. It could be the actual golf one. Sorry, the actual golf doesn't have a case, even though that's the booklet.
Oh, okay.
So the Silent Bomber's meant to go in there because the back of it shows the Silent Bomber game. But it's got actual golf in there, the disc, and then the booklet for Silent Bomber and the case. So it's weird. But I need to get more dual cases because FIFA 98's broke. World Cup 98, FIFA 98's case is broke. I think they've been damaged in transport because it's like that hairline fracture that you used to get on these dual cases because they're so fragile and shit. And the hinges on FIFA 97's broke as well.
I used to hate
but they're like 10p.
I used to hate it when, so like the World Cup 98 one at the bottom, where you'd get that crack going along it, but it wouldn't crack on like the inside rim next to the black sort of spine. So it'd crack all the way along it until there. So you've basically got that one little hairline holding it in place, and it's just that little bit of hope that keeps you pissed off because it's like you have to be super careful every time you open it and close it, and it starts like wafting around like one of those barn doors that has flappy tops and bottoms kind of thing.
But yeah, I was extremely happy with that pickup. I mean, if you have got a Facebook Marketplace around you and you do like to collect games, then it's definitely a place that you want to keep an eye on. Don't tell too many people though, because you know prices will get driven up the wall. Because that set of games there should not have been £10. I'm telling you now. If you went into any second-hand game shop, chances are each of them games would have been about £4 or £5 each, and I got the lot for £10.
Did you have to go pick them up, or did they like drop them?
No,
off,
they delivered them.
Nice.
They delivered them.
Nice.
Well, they did it via Royal Mail, which I think was about £3, but I didn't pay for that. Yeah,
suckers.
So technically, it cost me about £7.
Craig says, "I want to see all your collection in its full glory, baby. Does it really fit the whole wall? Does it?
It doesn't fit the whole wall. It probably would do, but
if
at the
it was
moment
a
I've
small
got them
wall
all stacked up. Yeah.
Do you have FIFA 03? Says Rise. Good morning, Rise. Good morning, Craig, as well, by the way.
I do have FIFA 03. Yes, I have FIFA 04, 05, 06. And then I don't think I've got any on my Xbox 360. I won't go into why. But I think I got a first legitimate copy of FIFA 2013 onwards.
I remember paying £170 for the hack games. For the hack games?
The dot hack games.
I don't know what the dot hack games are. What is that? Is that like some...
I've never played them.
RPGs. Oh, well, I should have known that. I should have known. Gatekeeper says, I got Tucker Cards Christmas Day and I was playing and leaned over and my elbow went through the case. I was wounded. I mean, how far do you lean? Hey!
I was sprawled out on the front room carpet. Maybe you got a Sega, Sega Saturn, Master System, Genesis. I don't know. I haven't got any, to be fair.
It's got a really tiny Sega Game Gear, 4 of them in fact. Oh, oh, excuse
No,
me.
I've got the Sega Mega Collection on my PlayStation 4. I haven't got a Sega Mega Drive. I do want one again when I move out eventually within the next month or so, when all the paperwork's signed. Then I will be looking at extending my collection to other consoles. But at the moment, I've just got PlayStation 1 and 2, Xbox 360, Xbox One. That's from the office. My Wii,
Thief.
which I will absolutely adore my Wii. Like, if you haven't got a Wii that can play GameCube games, what are you playing at? You can pick them up for about a tenner. Get that. Just because you can hack it and you can play GameCube games off an SD card. But you can also play them via the disc, and you use a normal GameCube controller, which again is great.
So running through your consoles, do you have an Xbox Series X there, Bib?
Is that the Xbox One?
No, as in the brand new to be released Xbox Series X. Do you have one of those?
No, but I think there might be an area of the world where it may be coming out this year.
Yeah, there we go. Straight into the news of the day. Xbox Japan confirms 2020 Series X launch as it attempts to do a much better job. Platform holder previously said it intends. My God, there's a n missing. Platform holder previously said it intends to improve its position in Japan. Written by Andy Robinson for VGC. The article goes on to say Microsoft has confirmed that the Xbox Series X will launch in Japan during the 2020 holiday season. The news was confirmed in a statement supplied to Famitsu, and it represents an improved commitment compared to Xbox's previous console, Xbox One, which arrived almost a year late in Japan compared to the West. You might as well give up if that's the case, so no surprise there. At present, 4 Xbox Series X titles have been confirmed for release in Japan: Halo Infinite, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Scarlet Nexus, and Bright Memory Infinite. The Japan Series X launch could occur simultaneously with Western regions and follows a renewed commitment from the platform holder to improve its position in Japan. Xbox head Phil Spencer recently said that he felt the platform's market position in Japan wasn't acceptable and pledged to do a much better job with the Series X launch in the region. According to market research company IDC, Xbox One has made just 0.3% of its global sales in the region. Wow. In Famitsu's latest annual sales report for 2018, it's claimed that Xbox One sold just 15,339 units during the entire year, compared to 1.7 million for PS4 and 3.5 million for Switch. That's ridiculous. Speaking in an interview with Gamertag Radio, Spencer said he remained committed to the region and wanted Xbox to mean more than it does today in Japan. Our market in Japan for Xbox is important to us, he said. Obviously, Sony and Nintendo are both strong Japanese companies who have done a great job. I don't know if we're in Japan anytime soon, but the position that we have in Japan today from a platform isn't acceptable to me. Spencer added, we're going to do a much better job with this next upcoming launch of not waiting 10 months to launch in Japan like we did last time. We're going to make sure our services like Game Pass, xCloud, and stuff are there so people can have access to it. Platinum Games' Hideki Kamiya recently told VGC he felt Xbox could do more to market towards Japanese players' tastes for their console. If I were to share my innocent opinion as a gamer, I would say that ever since Xbox has been introduced to the Japanese market, it's always felt like something foreign and far away, he said. It doesn't feel like it's ever been cultivated for Japanese tastes. Platinum Games also suggested it would likely not be interested in any potential acquisition offer from Xbox Game Studios, following claims Xbox would like to add a Japanese studio to its first-party roster. Those numbers, I knew there was a big difference, and I knew it was all based on the late start, but less than 15,500 units sold in 1 year for Xbox One consoles, 1.7 million for PS4, and 3.5 million for Switch. That is a huge difference there.
Why do we think that is, though? Why do we think that the Xbox doesn't get a fair chance over in Japan?
I think...
Is it because the? I mean, go on. You tell yours, because I think I have my reasons as to why.
I think that for me, they kind of laid out in the article that the starting thing is a word that I've used about 4 times already this week. Ethnocentricity. You tend to know what you know and like what you like. The things that you've been brought up around, you kind of stick to your own. It's not necessarily the right way to be all the time, but it is a stereotypical human behavior. So if you're a a person living in Japan, Japanese person living in Japan, and a Japanese console has been released in Japan on time, first of all, so you're not 10 months late as well. So that's the second element. The first part is Japanese people buying Japanese brands. Makes sense. There's nothing wrong with that. National pride, boom, go for it. Second part, the foreign console, as it was mentioned in the article, the Xbox One, launched 10 months after the rest of the world. Okay, well, that's not a great sign. It's a case of we're foreign and we don't care. So okay, well, that's got to help there as well. But then I think the what was it? Hideki Kamiya said that it's always felt foreign and far away. Not just at launch, but the games, the branding. Even yesterday, and the day before, having chats with Jordan, who's hugely into JRPGs. He called like his was it your Vita or was it your Switch? No, or was it your PSP? Was your JRPG console? And he talks about his PlayStation as his JRPG console. Like he tends to be more kind of lean towards what Xbox, but he plays all his RPGs and stuff on PlayStation because that's where they are. And I think that's kind of it for me. The games that are on PlayStation like speak to a Japanese audience much more than the games that are on Xbox. There are games that are across both of them, but if you can get games across both of them on a PlayStation, which also has additional games that what's the word I'm looking for? That let's just say speak to again. That speak to a Japanese audience, then surely you're going to get all of those JRPGs on the PlayStation, whether they're cross-platform or not, because you'll play them with the other ones. So it kind of makes absolute sense there. What's your thoughts?
It basically towards the last part of your statement there. I think the PlayStation brand is synonymous with JRPGs. I think from the PlayStation 1 all the way through to the PlayStation 4, and that includes obviously PlayStation 2, 3, your PSP, and your PS Vita. I think they are massive. I think it's just part of their culture, and having these JRPG machines is very rare that you'd see, apart from the 360, like Jordan mentioned there, where they started to put a few out for it. I mean, I think Persona's probably one of that, and Final Fantasy are probably the biggest exports from that side of the world into Western culture, having those JRPGs around us. But I think having the logo PlayStation, I think that does go hand in hand with the JRPGs. And I think the PlayStation Vita is still massively popular. It might not be anywhere in the world anymore, but it's still massively popular over there because they are still pumping out these new games for what JRPGs are. That I think is their biggest genre of games over there. So it makes sense for them to carry on playing what they like on the console that they like, that they have an affinity with. I think that's the long and short of it. I think having an alternative console like the Xbox Series X that's going to be coming out. I do think it's going to go on. Sorry,
No, go on, continue.
I don't think it's going to do as well over there. I think I think the trend is going to be exactly the same. I don't, like if they're not going to wait 10 months, fair enough. But I still think if you're going to have launch games on the PlayStation 5, that is going to suit that market better. Then it's just going to be another secondary console.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they can do a better job. I mean, selling 15,000 consoles in a whole country in a year, and this is a very economically developed country as well. Selling 15,000 consoles when you're at the peak, you're at the height of a generation, and you haven't sold that many before. You should be selling more than 15,000 because the potential for sale is huge, but only selling 15k is not a lot. But jumping in the chat, Rise says, I think it's because the old arcade style, etc., are so much more popular and they still stick to the OG arcade machines. See, that's the thing. I mean, like, sticking to the old style games, Xbox does that more than PlayStation does with the like Game Pass and backwards compatibility and stuff. So you feel like the mantra of the business relates, but it's the content within the games itself that doesn't. Asif says Xbox One might as well not have a presence there. It's a combination of the type of games, marketing / messaging, and as G said, it seems the gaijin console. Reminds me of Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, that word, by the way. That was the first place I ever heard it, and I've heard it a bit, every time I hear it now, gaijin, which gaijin means basically outsider. Hitting my volume things. So yeah, essentially, if you're a gaijin, you're different. You're outside. And Xbox, obviously, Japanese is one of our own. It's the Harry Kane of consoles. Whereas he's one of our own.
Oh, tickle with that.
Whereas Xbox is Gaijin. JRPG was always on PlayStation's on Nintendo console. The weird thing is the few exclusive JRPGs on Xbox 360 were absolute killer RPGs and some of my favourite all time. Microsoft just neglected the Japanese teams. Plus, Scalebound would have been an absolute system seller. Asim says nothing about the Xbox One taps into Japanese culture. Lots of JRPGs and idle games do well in Japan. Loads of those on PlayStation systems, hardly any or none on Microsoft ones. John says Shin Megami Tensei for Nintendo consoles. I think that's it. I mean, it's almost like our fates have been sealed. Our destiny has been written. So let's stick to it. Xbox. Oh well, we're not selling well in Japan. So let's not really bother with JRPGs. And in Japan, well, Xbox doesn't really do JRPGs or stuff that fits our cultures. So let's not bother with Xbox. And it's kind of like mutually assured destruction in that sort of sense. They're both agreeing to disagree. They're both agreeing to not support each other in that sort of sense. I mean, that's speaking entirely business sense. That kind of makes sense a little bit. When you're at the end of a generation, you're not gonna you're not going to win it over at that point in time. So maybe Xbox have gone, okay, let's cut our losses here. We've not resonated. There's no point investing.
I think if you was in charge... Sorry, I thought you'd finished it. Go on.
No, go on. You go for it. I was still talking. It must have just dropped off you, but it's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, it just went dead. I thought you was shoveling me in there, giving me... but what if you was in charge of promoting this over in Japan then? Not as a long-term fix, but just something to try and get the name out there as like a really, ideally a year-long marketing campaign. What do you think would be the easiest way for them to tap into the Japanese market, just to show that Xbox have something for you? What do you think is the easiest thing for them to be able to do?
I think the easiest thing, not necessarily the cheapest thing or most cost-effective thing, but the easiest thing has been mentioned within the article. Platinum Games also suggested it would likely not be interested in any potential acquisition offer from Xbox Game Studios. Microsoft have realised they've not had the games, not just in Japan, but across the whole gaming spectrum that have resonated. They've stuck to their core titles that haven't hit the heights that people have expected, and outside of that, they've not had enough. Their first-party exclusives haven't resonated. And when I say first-party exclusives, I don't necessarily mean AAA blockbusters. We could be looking at smaller things as well. Cuphead did, but that's not a console seller. You have Cuphead alongside your God of Wars and your Horizon Zero Dawns and Last of Us and stuff that we always speak about when we talk about the PS4. Xbox didn't have that. So if they want to resonate in Japan, how about create that local identity? And it's very business way of saying just buy someone local. So buy Platinum Games. Ta-da! But I mean, you have to do more than that, obviously. It's not just a case of buy Platinum Games. Buy Platinum Games with a clear mission of we want to buy Platinum Games so we can diversify our portfolio. We want to create games that will speak to the people that we're not currently speaking to. We want to build those bridges, start those conversations, and by doing that, by building those bridges, having Platinum Games, will announce a series of games that, or will announce our plans for things that are coming, and then alongside that, do something that will entice people to pick up the consoles. So one thing that was kind of thrown about before we got that massive Sega reveal yesterday, that was a huge exclusive and will set the world on fire, by the way. Not really. Jordan mentioned it, there's a lot of Sega placement in Microsoft content, or there has been recently, so people are kind of reading between the lines like, is that teasers? Are they Hideo Kojima-ing us? Are they giving us clues that we aren't seen for years beforehand before they do something with Sega? Having something like that, maybe that's not the answer, but let's say it was, having the Sega edition Xbox One X that's like exclusive to the Japanese Series X, should I say, that's exclusive to the Japanese market, so it's a brand that they know and love. Releasing games from developers that they know and love with an exclusive just for their market. That's it's like, here, this is just for you. We care about you enough to do your own thing. That, I think, is kind of how they they start with it, but then it's about consistency then. So if they go, boom, we've done Japan, now let's just go back to making Gears of War, which has big butch American blokes and stuff in mega suits. Japan are going, okay, well, so it's back to just being assimilated into everything else. No, we want more for us. So I think that would be the way they've got to do it. And what I was gonna say when it was dropping off you is I understand them kind of not putting the effort in now, purely from a business point of view. It's like, okay, we're not going to win over this generation. Everyone's mind's made up. But by saying this now, is that a sign of Phil Spencer saying, okay, we haven't given up entirely. We're just going to scratch this gen off, but get the groundwork in so that we can do a proper go at next gen? Because I think it doesn't surprise me that they didn't do a very good job at the start of this current gen, because they didn't do a very good job of anything at the start of this current gen. You can win your brand messaging in your home territories much easier than you can in territories on foreign soil, so to speak. And I think that's kind of thing. It's taken Xbox 3, 4, 5 years to nail their messaging down, and then the last 2 years or so they've been building on that messaging to the point where everyone agrees that Xbox's brand messaging right now is solid, industry leading pretty much. So now they've got that in place. Now they can look at, okay, how can we keep being this effective but elsewhere? I think that's what they do.
Yeah, man.
Speaking of Xbox being effective, Mr. Enix_PvP in the chat sent this over. This isn't Xbox specifically. This is a Samsung piece of content, but Xbox is within it. And I think this is how Xbox can get themselves into markets where they aren't necessarily established as even a tertiary brand, because in Japan clearly they're miles behind the Switch. They could even be frigging lower than tertiary in that sort of case with PlayStation being, I say PlayStation being primary. In the last year of sales, Nintendo was the primary console, PS4 secondary, and then Xbox One X was tertiary. But this, like I say, could change things going forward. Samsung have announced Samsung Access for TV. The gist of this is basically when you buy a mobile phone, let's say you're getting an iPhone. Some people go out and buy an iPhone and then get a contract. Most people will get a contract which gives them an iPhone that they pay for monthly, as well as paying for their calls and minutes and data and stuff like that. Samsung have kind of like disrupted the TV buying market to say, well, okay, you've got a TV, you got one a couple of years ago, so what's the point in getting a new TV, is most people's thinking. Yeah, same. However, Samsung have said, okay, well, you can upgrade it now. You can buy a TV, you can pay for it monthly, and then you can upgrade your TV or choose to buy it and keep it at the end. Or you can just give it back if you don't want to. Just like you would more aligned with mobile phones or even cars and things like that. So basically, you get a premium TV, premium content, and premium care. That's the idea, is you're paying for the TV, which you can upgrade. You get additional content within it. And that is where Xbox comes in. And then on top of that, they'll throw in care package, so they'll come and install it. They'll give you service and maintenance and stuff like that. So, number one, you pick your premium TV, so you can choose the TV that you want. Job's a good one. Number two, premium content. So with Samsung Access, you get your choice of streaming or gaming services up to $120 value, included at no additional cost. So choose from Showtime, Sling TV, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, YouTube Music Premium, or YouTube Premium, or YouTube TV 2. Well, TV, not 2, that's just me autopilot reading. But there you go, Xbox Game Pass. So if you have a Samsung TV on Samsung Access, I mean, you can guarantee there's going to be a lot of Samsung TVs sold in Japan. So if you can get a Samsung TV on Samsung Access, which then gives you access to Xbox Game Pass games, and that is a way to invite you into the Xbox ecosystem. I think that is a way that Xbox not necessarily can immediately increase console sales, but I think that is the way that they can immediately increase their user base, their acquisition level, and it's kind of like indoctrination into their ecosystem. And then a little bit further on down the line, that's where people might go, actually, do you know what, I'm enjoying playing these Xbox games. I'm enjoying these Japanese-centric brands that are exclusive to Xbox, so I'm going to go out and buy my Xbox Series 1X at that point in time. So yeah, I think that's probably the way that Xbox would go with that. For those of you that don't know, the next obviously step is premium care, installation, blah blah blah, parts labor. So you can choose then to upgrade your TV. You pay for it. You pay for 75% over 27 months. You then keep the TV, upgrade it, so hand it back and get a brand new one. Keep it and you just pay it off, or you give it back and walk away. That's essentially the gist of it. Does that sound like a decent enough what's the word I'm looking for? A plan. It sounds pretty decent to me. I
Mm.
mean, I've never known that from a TV, and I do like the idea of being able to just give my TV back and get the new 4K, 8K, 10K, whatever's going to be around in the next 2-3 years times. So yeah. 100% xCloud coming to Samsung TVs. It makes sense. Samsung just announced partnership with Xbox and offering Game Pass with their Samsung TVs. I think that's kind of like I said, that's a big thing. Is if the Japanese market are all on board Nintendo and PlayStation, and I know Samsung's a Korean brand, but let's say Samsung have gone about speaking to all Asian audiences. So it's not just we're a Korean brand. It's okay. We sell TVs across the world, including Japan. So if Samsung are within there as well, that's kind of like the Trojan horse for Microsoft to get in and go, look, we're part of Samsung. These are our cool friends. You know us. Well, yeah. We're not entirely gaijin. We know the people that you know. We're already part of you. So then that sort of stuff will help bring them around. But then obviously they need to continue with that. So the premium content, getting access to their games is one thing, but getting access to the games that speak the words that they need to speak is the other thing. I think that's the next step for Microsoft after that. But anyway, from being entirely Japanese focus, let's go to, I don't want to say Western focus, but entirely worldwide focus. And this is obviously a subject that's everywhere, and so it should be right now. Oh no, that's Xbox back again. Get up my screen. And there we go. So Call of Duty is cracking down on racist content in Warzone and Modern Warfare. Written by Sherif Saed for VG247. This article says Infinity Ward has vowed to be more proactive in banning racist content in Call of Duty, and so it should be. Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Warzone developer Infinity Ward has admitted that it needs to do better to counter racism in its online games. Going forward, the developer will be taking a more aggressive approach to racist and hateful clan tags, usernames, and other offensive content. To start, the developer will be dedicating more resources to monitor and ban racist user content across the game. The in-game reporting tool will be expanded to include racist names and the like as possible reasons for filing a report. Infinity Ward is aiming to increase the number of bans per hour. The developer is also exploring ways to make it easier for players to report. I think that for me is the starting point. It's quite difficult to report people in, not just in Infinity Ward games, in most games, and you get pigeonholed into your responses usually. So making it easier is the key thing. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not daft enough to know that making it easier to report will mean that you just get a lot of trolls and probably more racists just using the report function just to attack people. So there needs to be obviously balance with that. But yeah, that's a good starting point. But anyway, technical upgrades include greater restrictions on name changes as well as smarter filters to prevent these usernames from being made in the first place. Lastly, Infinity Ward will punish repeat offenders with permanent bans. So this is a tweet. It'll probably go over most of that again, but I'll read it out anyway. So there is no place for racist content in our game, says @Infinity Ward on Twitter. This is an effort we begin with launch. This is an effort we began with launch, and we need to do a better job. We're issuing thousands of daily bans of racist and hate-oriented names, but we know we have to do more, and we are. Adding additional resources to monitor and ID racist content, adding additional in-game reporting systems to increase the number of bans by hour, adding filters and greater restrictions on name changes, evaluating in-game improvements to make it easier to report offences, increasing permanent bans to root out repeat offenders. We apologise to our players. This is our commitment to you, our fans. Thank you. So this looks to be on the level of the developer's approach to cheating in Warzone. The changes made then had a visible effect on the number of cheaters in-game, so hopefully a similar success will be found in the battle against racist players. In other Call of Duty news, Activision postponed the new seasons for both Warzone, Modern Warfare, and mobile indefinitely. Do you know, interesting thing is, why did they stop cheating so quickly? but the racism stuff, it already just happened. What?
That's exactly what I was about to go down. How have they put more focus on stopping people from cheating in the game rather than stop people from being racist? Like, surely it's easier to stop people from being racist in the game than it is to stop them from cheating. Like, first of all, you just put you can put in profanity filters on there is surely the first step. Do you know what I mean? It's I can't even put it into words because for me it just sounds fucking stupid. Like I don't know how it's taken the world to start to fight back for them to be able to think, actually, do you know what? I think we've got this the wrong way around. Like, no, this isn't just a knock on Infinity Ward. This is a knock on absolutely every game that's out there where you can look into the bottom left in the chat window and it's just absolute shit. Like, in most games that you can turn it off, I will turn it off because there's no reason I need to speak to the people that are knocking about in there for a start because I just can't be asked with how bad. p- I mean, it's don't even know what to say because for me it just seems like the easiest thing to be able to stop, but they're focusing all the time on the gaming experience. But if you are a person of color, this is the biggest thing for you. Like you don't want to be sat there playing a game and then you just constantly getting abused. Like if the game plays shit and your experience is being ruined, believe me, your experience will be ruined as soon as you get into the game and you're just seeing all this tyrant of abuse. I don't understand it. I never will understand it. How they're just putting things higher than, you know, the topics that are around at the moment. It just blows my mind.
I mean, I'm not going to take it away from Infinity Ward. They've they're
But
making
why now
changes.
though?
Yeah,
That
no,
that that
yeah,
means like why now?
I'm going to get to that, but yeah, I'm not going to take it away. They are making changes. They are trying to be better, but like Shaw said, it's because it's fashionable to do so right now. But this isn't anything new, and it's not even just in terms of racism. There is all sorts of what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? Complete mental block. Is essentially people are being hard done to, and the people can be classed by sex, color, like discrimination. That's the word I'm looking for. So there's discrimination in video games, and there has been for forever, and it's huge. You've seen videos of female streamers who will be playing Counter Strike or whatever. I've seen.
Mm.
I don't know if she was a streamer or she was just a gamer or whatever. I mean, I didn't mean to put the word streamer. I meant to say gamer there. But she shared a video on social media saying I was playing CS or Rainbow Six or something like that, and she was melting people. And people were like, "Oh, great shot, dude, great shot." And then it was only after 5 or 6 time or whatever that she'd killed someone, and they were like, "Oh, sick, mate, well done," or whatever. That she was kind of like, "Oh, thanks." But soon as they heard that she was a girl, that was it. It's like, what are you doing out of the kitchen? Make me a sandwich. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna. And then they go down. They start off there, but then they start to go down the lines of fucking rape and shit like that. And it's just like, it's this sort of discrimination isn't new, but it's fashionable, as shows just said. So I'm not gonna knock them for doing it. It needs to be done, but you prioritize the sturdiness of your systems with cheating and stuff before you prioritize the sturdiness of the community within the system. That's what that kind of speaks volumes to me. So yes, it's good that you've done it, but you know it should have been done before.
Absolutely. I mean, the comments that people make, like the sexism stuff, it's usually from people who are fucking deadheads anyway. But it's just a throwaway comment to them. They're not asked about what effect it can have on anybody else down the line. It's just one of them things, but they don't see that as that. So Infinity Ward and whoever else it needs to be needs to start that shit. I mean, you can't really do that shit for voice comms anyway. That's the unfortunate part about it. It's usually down to text. That's how you put your profanity filter in there. The easiest way for them to be able to do it is, like they say, if they're having this or having the reports in there. So if there is team comms and people are giving you shit, that's an easier way to be able to do that. But there should be a function in there where you can clip like the last 30 seconds of your match, and then when you're putting the report in, you can just automatically, it'll just take the last 30 seconds or 30 seconds of the match which you choose, and then you can just ping it forward just to have a bit more evidence in there, just so from their perspective they're able to be better and do things to try and help more people. I don't know. I'm not a technical person in any way, shape, or form, so I don't know the best way of being able to do it. But I'm not paid to do that. Having a profanity filter and trying to help as many people as possible while they're playing video games should be the priority.
Yeah, I agree. That capturing the last 30 seconds or so, I think that something along those lines, having some sort of buffer where people can just go, okay, this is what's happened in in-game chat. I know that a lot of systems record in-game chat, as well. Not to the point of they listen to it, because obviously thousands, billions of hours, but they'll have it for a few days or whatever, and then it's just gone off the system so that they can hear what's said anyway. So if you report, they can go back and look at it. But I think that kind of stuff needs to happen, because if you've got people chatting shit, people being racist, people being sexist, people having any form of hate speech over the voice chat, and they're getting away with it because it's on voice chat, then there's no repercussions. They won't lose their account that has all of their video games on it, or all of their DLC, or they won't be able to jump into. I mean, they'll continue to be able to jump into Warzone with their mates, because fuck it. Oh, it was only one bitch that got all of the fucking rape speech said. So what does it matter? If they don't have any sort of repercussion, then where's the fear? Where's the discipline? So there needs to be abilities put in. When I mean, that kind of ties into a bit what I was saying. They need to make it easier to ban, or not ban, easier to report users. And if that tool is here's a segment of the voice data that we said. What the fuck?
What?
Anyway, so yeah, if there isn't the ability to report shit like that so quickly and so easily and concisely, that then has repercussions. People are just going to keep doing it. People are dickheads when it comes to that shit. People can choose the nasty option. If they've chosen the nasty option and there's nothing stopping them from choosing the nasty option, then they're likely to choose the nasty option again. So we need to find ways to squash that. But fair enough. Let's forget that it's taken them too long. Infinity Ward have started to do it because there's a big focus on it. If this is just one of the things that I was talking about, the white text on a black background, plain message that brands are doing these days, and if nothing's really changed in 12 months' time, then Infinity Ward, come on. But if they have, do you know what? Fair enough. It late or not, it's made a change. If it has, jobs are good. If it hasn't, then well, you just virtue signaling to fuck off. Yeah, Pro Clubs is horrible for it. Is it? I've only ever played it with. I mean, I've played it with some horrible people. To be fair. This guy. I was joking. Not in a racist way. I was just calling him horrible. By the way, just want to clarify. Although he's full on racist. No, he's not. He's not. I mean, come on. Even EA have a profanity filter, and they are struggling to make a decent football game. For fuck's sake. Like QWERTY is a profound word, for God's sake. Is it? Is it?
I don't know that.
I wonder if they can release how many people change their names from offensive names. I mean, it'd be interesting to know that. Like,
just straight off the bat. Surely Sony or Microsoft or whoever, when people are making a gamer tag, they just shouldn't be able to use them words for a start. Yeah,
there is, like, even just yesterday, I was watching. I say I was watching. I kind of was watching, so I didn't know what it was that was said or whatever. But Hambino, PUBG streamer, he has a really nice community within his chat. Very nice, very supportive. It doesn't like people like instantly going, you shit then, which is always the best way to have a community. If people just ride you every time you do something bad, you have a negative community. Whether they think they're supporting you or not, you're dead, lol. It's not supportive. So he wants to create people being nice and stuff. And this person in his chat wasn't necessarily saying anything bad to him, I don't think, but they'd used ways to work around whatever the profanity filters were in. I don't know if it was their username or maybe it was a message. Maybe they were being horrible. But let's just say you can change G's to sixes in certain words and get away with it, and that kind of thing, or putting dots in there, or using a 3 and using numbering and lettering and so on. There's easy ways to get around it that just doesn't get picked up. And don't get me wrong, it would be hard as hell to program something like that, but we can put a man on the moon. We can create a freaking profanity filter that realizes when someone's being a womble.
Mate, we've got a profanity filter in Twitch. I don't think it should be that hard for them to be able to do. Like, we can put in certain words for them to not ever see, and we just put in all the combinations that we deem people would be likely to use, and it would stop them from coming into the chat. Don't know whether or not we've got it set up, but it's there available to us.
I mean, the thing with that though is that people will always find a way to be.
Oh yeah, of course they will.
So if do you know, I'm not going to use a profanity word because I don't want to. Let's use the word the name Iron Man. The reason I say that is because my coaster's Iron Man. So let's say Iron Man was banned. people would do iron with a 0, so we ban that. So people will do I_R_0_N or N or whatever, and then we'll ban that, and then we'll do asterisks. So people will always find ways, but the fact that they've not even... You can make algorithms to find that sort of shit.
If people
I'm going to
going
keep talking, just
extreme
keep
lengths,
interrupting.
if people are going to extreme lengths to be able to type that in the chat, they wouldn't last 2 seconds in the chat because the mods would be all over it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just Twitch anyway. I mean, that on in-game chat, that pop up in the left-hand side of your screen or whatever, that will be a little bit more difficult to manage. But I mean, if you're creating a game and you're in the back end and you'll be able to type in profanity words and you're able to mute them, surely that's someone's job to be able to do that. And if it, like Show said, if it's fashionable to do right now, what better time than now?
I mean, look at that. I can't even change my PSN to my brand because it contains the word gun, says Shogun. It doesn't even contain the word gun. It contains letters within another word, which is crap. But racist names can get through, as he says. It's bullshit. It is bullshit. That just shows you that it's lack of consideration to it. Oh, we should have a filter in. Why? Because parents would like it. Nice. Should we put real effort into it? No. Should we make it entirely automated and not really a human situation so people that want to do good things can't get through and people that want to do bad things can get through? Whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's where we are with the situation.
Yeah.
Name filters block out meaningful words but let through harmful ones. It's a bit shit. It's a bit shit. Every game should have a theater mode, and if you're in-game chat, your voice gets recorded as well. I mean, that is potentially hard because the amount of data and so on. But I think some games do that to a point where they may keep them for a number of hours or a number of days. But not all games, because the amount of server space and stuff like that is that. But I mean, that's the thing. I mean, even if they can't do it on a server side where everything gets recorded, surely consoles can just build in a buffer. Even my Streamlabs, I've got a little button on my Stream Deck that says replay, which Streamlabs, as I'm streaming now, has a 30-second buffer. So if I want to record something from stream, and I've never used it, by the way, but if I ever want, I just hit that button and it'll just save what's there. If my PC can do that, then why can't this brand new SSD hard drive master machine RTX on console do that for just whatever seconds? If someone's a dick, just go, "Boop, okay, racist," while I'm reporting you. Fuck off out of here. 12 months of people doing that. No one will be fucking racist again because they'll all be banned to fuck or scared of it. So, yeah. Shogun,
I mean, if you was to send a message to someone on PSN telling them to fuck off, chances are you're going to get banned for like 7 days. So, do you know what I mean? What's it? How can you stop? How can you stop that from coming through, but not something else? It honestly just blows my mind.
Yeah, exactly. That seems odd considering Shogun is a Japanese word to begin with, so Sony should recognize it. See, that would be logic, David. We don't speak about logic here. Anyway, let's move on to something entirely different. Get out of here. Bring this up here. Epic Games had to rewrite parts of Unreal Engine to keep up with the PS5's SSD, which just once again confirms that the PlayStation 5 is the better console and there's no reason to purchase an Xbox Series X. And that is the end of the article, says at chat.
Unlucky Jordan.
Waits for Jordan to respond. I'm only joking. The SSD inside every PS5 is going to be transformative for game development, and the maker of Unreal Engine has seen it firsthand. It is no secret that the Unreal Engine creator Epic Games has fallen in love with the PlayStation 5. The developer chose to debut its next-gen Unreal Engine 5 with a demo running on PS5 in real time. Not only does the console's advanced CPU and GPU architecture enable big leaps in performance, Epic was particularly motivated by Sony's proprietary SSD technology. We spoke to Epic Games and other developers about how they believe the Unreal Engine 5 will shape the future of game development on next-gen hardware. This is a quote within the article. The PlayStation 5 provides a huge leap in both computing and graphics performance, but its storage architecture is also truly special, Nick Penwarden, VP of Engineering at Epic Games, told us. This goes beyond faster loading speeds. Guaranteeing that level of performance for every PS5 means developers have the freedom to stream so much content every second, which could fundamentally change how levels are designed and how content is streamed. Excuse me. The ability to stream in content at extreme speeds enables developers to create denser and more detailed environments, changing how we think about streaming content. It's so impactful that we've written our core IO subsystems for Unreal Engine with the PlayStation 5 in mind, he added. While it's true that both Xbox Series X and PS5 have NVMe SSDs, Sony took things further by boosting the transfer speeds well beyond what's possible on even the most expensive consumer-grade products available today, and certainly faster than the Xbox Series X. With that in mind, Epic is confident of Unreal Engine 5's impressive tech will run on both the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Interesting. I mean, I've seen this mentioned a few times, and I've also seen very generic statements from the PC Master Race as well, saying, "Oh yeah, well you can buy SSDs for the PC that do just as good, if not better. Benchmark tests this, that, and the other." But I've never seen anyone giving me actual evidence, and obviously that's difficult because, I mean, Sony's Mark Cherney came out and said that the SSD that they have is better than anything that you can get in PCs now, and this has been backed up now by Epic's developers of the Unreal Engine. But until we actually get it in our hands, there's no way that we can actually do any side-by-side benchmark testing there. Whatever it is, if they're saying it to the point of the SSD is, if it's not gonna be better than commercially available SSDs when the PlayStation arrives at the end of the year, by that point in time, because the tech industry moves pretty fast, maybe they will be better by then. But it's gonna be up there, and that's got to be a huge thing. The interesting thing for me though is how much of an impact that will have, because we know the Xbox is the more powerful console in a few areas, but Sony's SSD is ahead of Xbox's, and that will get ripped down by Xbox fans, just like it will get built up by Sony fans. But I want to know how much and what sort of impact that will have, because we know faster loading times but what does that mean from a development standpoint? I want someone to break that down as to exactly what that means for me as an idiot user game player that knows nothing about NVMe SSDs. I know more than most, but I know more than some, not most. But yeah, what I want to see how that actually translates.
I think across the board, straight out of the box, I think you're going to see the games that are going to utilize the max of one console. So they're going to adapt all of the third party games to potentially run on both consoles simultaneously. So they'll have to use the max loading speed on the Xbox and not utilize the PlayStation 1 until later down the line when they have a lot more familiar with both of them to be able to split not split the development, but be able to develop the PlayStation 1 maybe a little bit later or a little bit earlier. I don't know. I don't know how the development side of it works, but they'll have to at some point be able to try and utilize how fast the SSD is on the PlayStation 5, or they'll wait for the Xbox to release a newer pro version of their console to maybe have the same amount of SSD speed in that. I don't know, but we know full well that the first party PlayStation development teams are going to be utilizing the entire console. I think the sticking point is where it's going to be the third party games that usually they probably just make them simultaneously, change a few things like the way that the button layouts are and things like that for the consoles, and then ship them out. I didn't never thought that'd be that much of a problem, but obviously with completely different uh powers in the consoles, that's where the falling point may be. And I don't think we'll see. Well, we won't anyway. We've already said this. We're not going to see legit full power usage of the consoles until maybe 2 or 3 years down the line. Anyway, it never has done in any other console generation. Anyway, so I'll be surprised to see how they adapt to it going forward.
It's interesting though to see that they had to rewrite the Unreal Engine to keep up with the SSD. That's the tagline, the title that came with it. Actually, let me put that in the discussing now. Yawn. Because that in itself, I know it's only a title, and titles obviously are meant to sensationalize, to give you inspiration to click through. Epic had to rewrite UE5 for PS5. That's not going to fit. There's no way that's going to fit in the text box. Let's see. Ooh. Hey, it did actually. Okay. So the fact that they had to rewrite parts of it, it's a clickbaity segment, but that's pretty huge in terms of Epic thought. Okay, let's see what hardware, let's see what SSDs are going to be used in console. Let's see what's available. Okay, this is clearly what we're going to use, and we can't go past this because they're not going to be able to do anything with that. And they've gone, okay, well, that seems to be the case for the Xbox, but for the PlayStation, actually, maybe they can. Maybe it's doing too much too quickly, because if you have processors and SSDs that's loading too much too fast, you can cause it to trip over itself. So it's interesting that they've had to tweak it for that. So it's nice in a sense, but yeah, I think it comes back to what we just kind of said there, though. Excuse me, and what John just said in the chat. Exactly, we don't know until we see both consoles in person. Xbox has Velocity architecture, while PS has the SSD. And we don't know how they both work just yet in person. Will be interesting. Yeah, when you hear taglines like this, it is interesting. Let's forget about which one's better or worse, because that tagline kind of almost goes, oh, the PS5's better, but is it? We don't know. But it's interesting that comments have been said. The fact that Epic have chose the PS5 as their console of choice, and they're saying, oh, we had to rewrite our stuff because it was too good. It's kind of like, what's the reasoning for that? So that the vice president of engineering at Epic Games was the one that was basically saying it all. So it's like, yeah, what's the reasoning for that? Is it just to create harmony between themselves and PlayStation, or are they leaning that way, or what? It's always, I mean, it's good to read between the lines. You know that each camp will read between the lines in their own way. Xbox fanboys will be like, oh, that's it. No, Unreal are clearly being paid off by Sony, whereas the Sony fanboys will be like, oh, that's it, we're clearly the better console. Once again, we don't know. But it's interesting to see the sounds coming out of it now. And the worst thing is, I mean, it's still the right thing, but the worst thing is that we would have known a little bit more tonight. Would have seen some of the games and stuff. But do you know what? Hopefully, within the next few weeks, we're in a world that's calm enough and reasonable enough to put the conversation into, how can I say this without sounding like a dick? I want to say, basically, hopefully the world will have learned enough that we don't have to have the ongoing Black Lives Matter conversation as much, because we've actually changed enough to actually, okay, let's talk about other conversations. You know, I didn't want to go too deep, but there's nothing wrong with going deep into it there. But yeah, anyway, no PlayStation conference tonight is where I was getting with that. If you don't know what the context of what I was saying there, we were going to be doing a live co-stream of the PlayStation announcement tonight, but that hasn't been happened. If you didn't see the news article, that isn't happening if you didn't see the news article, because PlayStation cancelled it, and rightly so, to keep more attention on the conversations that matter right now, i.e. the Black Lives Movement conversation. But yeah, that still doesn't help us, though, in terms of answering whether the PS5's SSD is truly inspirational. The only way we'll know is to find out when it gets released. And speaking of releases, let's move on to our next bit of news, because this one is kind of interesting in how it will work. You can make the SSD sound amazing, but if it doesn't work well with the rest, exactly how the PS3 too hard to develop for, or Xbox One with its dual RAM setup, I don't think there'll be that issue with it. I think both have learned. I mean, maybe I could be wrong. I mean, I would see that being something that doesn't happen in terms of Sony had a big thing. It often got overlooked for the PS4 when it came to putting the console together. Mark Cherney and the system architecture team were they didn't just make something that was powerful like they did with the PS3. They made something that was powerful and could be utilized. So they went and spoke to developers of all sorts of different engines, loads of different studio developers. They gave them the games and they asked what they wanted and how they would like things to work and so on. So they built a system with that in mind. So I would be hugely surprised if, I mean, there could be something that isn't quite up to par on both of them or either of them, but I would be surprised if both of them haven't learned, because they've both kind of been burnt in that sort of sense. So I imagine they both would work very well and be easy enough to develop for. And not only that, developers creating engines as well are learning that you can't always count on the first party. Sometimes you have to make an engine that just works with everything, because first parties also have their own restrictions. So you kind of have to factor that in as well. So engines have developed, and the first party console developers have kind of developed themselves in their understanding and creation of consoles. But once again, we will see. Also, what we will see is more GTA, as GTA 6 would continue alongside GTA 5. Hints Take-Two boss. This is written by GameCentral for Metro. And the article goes on to say the CEO of Rockstar Games owner Take-Two has given a very clear hint as to how they'll handle the release of the next of GTA 6 next gen. Rumours about Grand Theft Auto 6 have been going for years at this point, but with no official information offered by Rockstar or their owners, it's been very hard to guess what's going on, especially as Grand Theft Auto 5 is still selling so well. GTA 5 has seen a major boost in sales during the coronavirus lockdown, and Take-Two are in the peculiar position where releasing a sequel could end up cannibalising sales and making them less money overall. Or perhaps not. CEO Strauss Zelnick is still refusing to admit that GTA 6 is in development, but implied that when it was released, it wouldn't stop them selling or promoting GTA 5 or GTA Online. When answering questions from investors last week, Zelnick compared the GTA situation to that of NBA 2K Online, a version of the game created specifically for China, but which was based on an older version of the Western game. When it came to releasing a sequel, there was a lot of worry about whether Take-Two could entice existing fans over to the new game, so the simple answer was just to carry on supporting both. What actually happened was that when we launched NBA 2K Online 2, it turned out to be a massive hit, said Zelnick according to GamesIndustry.biz. And guess what? The audience was still stable and growing for NBA 2K Online itself, the first title, so we kept them both up, and they're both up to this day. The comparison for GTA 6 is obvious, but Zelnick further underlined it by saying, I am not remotely worried about being in a position that we have a great line of live services and a new release, and that there's somehow maybe some internal competition. To me, that is the definition of a high-class problem. It's also not hard to infer from this that, as previously reported, Rockstar Games are already developing GTA 6, and that while it might not be finished yet, Take-Two and Rockstar aren't purposefully holding it back for fear of what it'll do to revenues from GTA 5. Take-Two has denied theories that the game will be released in 2023, though, as the marketing spike that year is apparently due to the games they've agreed to publish from third parties, which means the bottom line is that we still have no idea when GTA 6 will be released, even if it's becoming clear it is well into development. Bib, thoughts?
They will have to wean it out at some point because there will be a GTA Online 6, won't there? Let's be honest. They're going to make an online version for the sixth installment of the game, so they will at some point have to wean it out. It just, I mean, when would you even want to contemplate potentially fizzling it out? I don't know. I'm glad that I don't have this headache because GTA 5 is still making a lot of money. GTA 6 is going to come out and then have, hopefully, a fantastic storyline. But when do they start to put the online element into 6? And when do they start to fizzle out GTA 5?
See, I wouldn't have seen this. And is this just... is it Zelnick? Is that his name? Strauss Zelnick, yeah. So is that Strauss Zelnick just kind of giving an answer that's not an answer? As in, like, games can be online. We've seen it before. He's not necessarily saying that's gonna happen with this. He's basically saying, don't worry, because that's what it is. It's an investor call. He's saying whether we can do it, we can't do it. He's giving options, and he's not really saying too much there. So because they have done it with NBA 2K Online, and then they had NBA 2K Online 2, there are other games like
FIFA Online do it as well.
What?
Yeah, FIFA Online.
Do they release a new one each year, or do they stick with?
No, I think it'll last like 1 or 2, maybe even 2 or 3 years. But I think they're on FIFA Online 4 now. I remember playing FIFA Online. Jesus, maybe 2010. They had a version over in Europe where it was just online and you could play Ultimate Team and it was free. You didn't have to buy the game or anything. You could just play it online. But then that just fizzled out over here, and they just want you to buy a FIFA game because that's what it comes with. But yeah, so they're on like FIFA Online 4 now, but I'm sure it's only in like Indonesia, China, and Japan and places like that where they don't necessarily have massive sales of the game, but they're just giving people the ability to be able to play FIFA online. I think it is for free because I'm sure I've got it in my library here still. It just says FIFA Online 4 and I can't download it because it's not available, but it just keeps on updating. But yeah, it's that they will eventually have to bring out an online version for 6 because the mood of the game is going to be different. I think if GTA 6 is going to be set in Vice City, then they can't just have the GTA Online servers be ported over to that, because it wouldn't make sense, would it? Because you'd be running around Vice City in the 80s, whereas you'd have what we have in GTA Online now, 5 now, where it's kind of modern day and a bit more gritty, fast cars and things like that. It's not going to be as you can't do it. It's the times are different. It's not like what Call of Duty is doing at the moment, where they're bringing like the Cold War into Modern Warfare, Warzone. Like they can just change it like that because a new game's coming out. We're going to change how the entire game works. We're going to involve new weapons and things like that. I don't think you could do that with a GTA Online game, especially if you're going to be changing the area of where it's going to be set, the time of where it's going to be set.
I think that area one's kind of the big thing as well, because if you let's say it was GTA Vice City 2 or whatever, or Grand Theft Auto London, or because there's been rumours about there being UK elements, there's been rumours about it being a Vice City sort of thing. Vice City's Miami. Grand Theft Auto 5 is New York, isn't it? Is it? So yeah, completely different things on completely different sides of America. So it's not as if they can I'm just going to pop next door to Miami. It doesn't work like that. I mean, well, I said different sides. I mean, Miami, Florida is down, whereas New York is like, is it further up, like on the east?
My geography is terrible. I'm definitely not the person that should be talking about that.
GTA 5 is LA. Oh, okay. Well, even
Yeah,
that then.
it's LA, because it's Los Santos is like a replica of that, because you've got the Hollywood Hills and everything, haven't you?
Yeah. So even that, so Florida is down, and then LA is still a 2-hour plane ride away. I know because I've gone from LA to fucking Florida. Anyway, so or is it? No, I didn't do that. No, I went Vegas to LA. But anyway, it's Florida is south. LA is kind of like that way. So not next door is kind of what we're saying. So the areas and the differences in that, unless they have some sort of like quick travel, or they just blur the lines and go, okay, we don't need to actually be real because it's a video game. We're just going to have this city be like this and this city be like this, and they're just next to each other. So I mean, they could do that, I suppose, but that kind of the amount of stuff that you would have to have online there, like say if they did have them traversal between one and the other because they're different areas. Yeah, maybe an SSD on a PS5 might be able to do that, but your PS4 would just explode.
Burst into flames.
So I think the fact that they called it GTA Online was either because they had visions for it going forever. GTA Online is a game that we will keep updating, that we will change and add new things in every new edition. Or it was quite short term in terms of they thought, okay, we've got GTA 5 and then we've got the online element, and they didn't realise it was going to be as big as it is.
Yeah.
But for
Can you
me,
imagine character resets if it was to bring it out? Oh god, it would just cause chaos. And the amount of years that people would have poured into these characters, and then it's like somewhat if it was to turn around and say, "What World of Warcraft? You're all having a level you're all having a level wipe. Everyone's starting from zero again." Oh my god.
I see it as you keep your character and your progression and stuff like that, but you kind of like hit almost like a splash screen, a front door. You're in your apartment or whatever. That becomes a separate sort of like I don't know, maybe not your apartment becomes separate, but they have like a starting place. And do you go to Vice City or do you go to Los Santos kind of thing? Which way do you go? And then you kind of go into the servers then.
That would be a good idea. Yeah, that'd have to be the way, because there's no way that people would just be able to wipe the game off the face of the earth after all the time and money that people would have poured into those accounts. I mean, I'd say I'd like to see the terms of service and stuff like that, because usually you won't get an end time in there, but they usually have to give you an idea of when things are going to be closing down. And if there was just to pull the plug, I think, yeah, it would not be good. But like I say, having the splash screen, because they do that in most online games anyway, like MMOs MMOs, so you can choose where you want to go to, what server you want to go onto. If there's anyone that's going to facilitate the amount of servers that's going to be needed, it's going to be GTA. So you could definitely run, I think, probably both versions of the game simultaneously.
Yeah,
Like I say, one goes to Los Santos and one goes to Vice City. That would be amazing if that could be the case.
I think you'd like still run the smartphones sort of thing in terms of, so if you're in Los Santos and I'm in Vice City and you go, actually, do you want to go out to the Los Santos Hills with me? There's something really cool up there. You could just send me an invite to the smartphone, and then I just load out on my server and load into your server. But I think the comparison that Strauss Zelnick gave of what happened when we was that when we launched NBA 2K Online 2, it turned out to be a massive hit. And guess what? The audience was still stable growing for NBA 2K Online itself. I get that. NBA 2K Online 2 was a big hit because just like football games, they had quite a big hit and so on. But you imagine playing PES 2020 now, PES 2021, 2022, whatever. You don't take your stuff with you because you've only been playing it for 9, 10, 11, 12 months. So you're not going to take who's just come out today, Bergkamp. You're not your Bergkamp that you sign. You already know that you don't take him forward to the next game. So you kind of, it's almost like what you've purchased in a sports game isn't something tangible, isn't something that you can touch, that you can take with you. I know it's not because it's digital IP, but still, you go into a GTA, and I've got an empire, I've got a crew, I'm running drug things, I've got a car business, I've got several apartments and stuff. These aren't tangible, you can't touch them, but they feel more so like that. So for me, like having NBA 2K2 online 2 next to 1, yeah, that's kind of all right because people happily go, do you know what? I'm going to lose my LeBron or whatever it is I've got in this, and I'm going to have to start again. But it's worth it for the graphical upgrades and the visual fidelity of the new game and so on. Whereas GTA 6, it's kind of almost like, I can see why I would go forward for the new graphical upgrades and stuff. But this looks pretty good as it is, and I've got a fuck ton of stuff that I've already invested in this. So I'm not sure that kind of tallies. Sports games versus that IRL recreation, like fantasy version of IRL, is a bit different. So yeah, I don't think that would work. I think that's Strauss Zelnick giving an example of something to appease his investors, but yeah, it doesn't sound like it's the answer for me. Needs to be a UK version. I mean, I'd like that. Didn't really like GTA 2 though. I played about a couple of hours of it. Smashed GTA 1 forever. 3, 4, Vice City, Liberty City Stories, San Andreas, 6, 5, obviously 6 as well. Put shitloads of time into it. GTA 2 was just a bit naff. It was like GTA but with crapper cars. So if they do a UK version, then they need to do the UK proud. But anyway, I think we'll wrap things up there. We are done. We've had quite a few stories today. For those of you that missed, if you want to just tuned in, we started off saying that the Xbox Series X will launch in holiday 2020 in Japan, not 10 months later like it did on the last generation, or the current generation, should I say, as Xbox attempts to do a much better job of the release over there. Call of Duty is cracking down on racist content in Warzone and Modern Warfare, which took them a little bit of time, but they've got there eventually. Epic has plans to rewrite Unreal Engine 5, and had to rewrite Unreal Engine 5 to keep it with the PS5's SSD. And finally, GTA 6 could potentially continue alongside GTA 5, hence Take-Two's boss, Strauss Zelnick, although I'm not sure that will actually be the case. I think he's just saying, this is a possibility. But there we go. We are going to disappear now. We're going to drop off. No stream following the show today. I did see a message earlier, and I meant to jump back onto it. Has it gone off the screen now? Was it Rise? It might have been Rise.
About Masters of the League.
Yeah. I can't find it there now anyway, but if it was Rise, he was asking when is the next episode of Master of the League. That is tomorrow. We don't do it on a Thursday. It's usually Monday, Wednesday, Friday. There has been a few things getting away. So this week, Bibby had the nerve of having his wedding anniversary. Last week, I had the nerve of checking on Familia and stuff like that. So yeah, this week we will stick on time with the next episode. Friday straight after the scoop, and then back to Monday, Wednesday, Friday from next week as well. But today, no additional stream after the scoop. We're going to go off the air, but you know what? We're just gonna go enjoy the world. So you guys feel free to do the same. But before you go away and enjoy the world, Bibby, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yes, as always, if you do see anything knocking around the social media platform of your choice that you think that you want to hear our opinion on, but you also want to include yours too, there's 2 ways that you can do it. First of all, go onto Twitter, find @We've Got Rubinho, @Scream_Day, and of course @Ice Cream Uploads. Tag those 3 in. We'll be able to pick your thoughts and impressions up as well as the article itself. And then the second way, and the chat bot is working, Graham, to go onto Discord, drop it in there. There's an area called The Scoop. Just drop it in there with your thoughts and opinions as well as the link. And we'll take that and add it into the very next show, which will be at what time tomorrow, Mr. Graham?
10 a.m. ish.
Ish.
Make sure you tune in. We are at the end of the transfer window on Masters of the League as well. For those of you that don't know, we started the transfer window at the start of the week. We progressed a little bit further through the transfer window yesterday. We have some new signings. Bibby's put a shed load of new faces in, and we have a little bit more cash to spend. So make sure you get involved as we close out the transfer window and then see how we're going to end the season. We're in automatic promotion place at the moment. Can we go any further? You will find out tomorrow straight after the scoop. But have yourselves a lovely day, ladies and gentlemen. And as Shogun ass. Freudian slip.
No.
Freudian slip.
The disrespect.
I'm sorry, Shogun ass. I don't know if I've ever said that before, and if I haven't, I don't know how my brain has never led me to that saying that before. But yeah, I mean, actually, let's ask a question. You can't have gun in your name, but can you have Shogun ass on PSN? That's a question. I'm sorry, Show. I love you, relay. But as Shogun Ash says in the chat, up the SEU, up the SEU, up the SEU, and yeah, don't forget, stay frosty. Bye.